Feeling good. We've had a great week. I'll be honest, it's nice to be home. Really nice. The thought of travelling in this window would be something we wouldn't be looking forward to. So we're really pleased to be here. And I think part of that preparation and consistency to be here for 10 days is something that's really going to help us. We've had a great start to the week and looking forward to tomorrow in a good place.
Did you start the camp kind of breaking down the last games as you normally do?
Yeah, we reviewed the Denmark game when we arrived, so that tends to be the way we work. So reviewed the work from the Denmark game, which obviously we were pleased with. A lot of those elements in terms of the performance. Reviewed with individuals. We do that in between as well, though. So we've reviewed quite a lot of that in between the two camps, even though there's only 3 weeks in between. It was something that we've spent a whole lot of time doing, because that learning from each game is something that, as you know, we prioritise.
Always likely that it was going to come down to the Iceland game. Disappointment in the first match to lose with the performance you gave. Is there a feeling that, confidence that it can be corrected? Because I know staying in League A is very important to you and to the players.
Yeah, it's something that we spoke about from the beginning of the Nations League in terms of what we wanted to do in the Nations League. Obviously, the plan is to stay in League A. That's what we want to do. When we played Iceland in the first game, our performance was one of our best performances, and we know that. The challenge for us now is to replicate that. So we've got a real focus on, if we can consistently perform at this level against teams, C3 teams, we know we're going to put ourselves in the best position. So the pressure for us is to consistently produce the performance and then add the bits that we want to add. So we've really spent a lot of time this week focusing on that in terms of what are the bits that are going to help us to get over the line against these teams, because it is performance, it is process for us, we're heavy on that, but it's about really being specific of, okay, home game in Cardiff, we're looking forward to it. We knew what the situation was going to be in September in terms of the run of these games, the challenge of being away in October, but looking forward to being at home and starting that tomorrow.
Obviously, you're not blessed with a huge squad in terms of the depth you have, in terms of experience. Denmark, you had to do without Rachel, without Kerry, without Hannah. How big is it to have, obviously, no Esther Morgan, but almost a full complement to pick from?
Yeah, it's great. We put ourselves in a great position. One of the things that we have talked about, though, is that Denmark game, and something we didn't have in the past was that depth of our finishers. And we have it now. It was really pleasing because we finished that Denmark game stronger than they did. We scored the goal in the 72nd minute, and then we really pushed for the equaliser, and that was down to the squad depth. So it was down to the players that started, but also as well the players that we brought to finish. And we've got such a focus on that because we know how important that is moving forward. Like you said, developing that depth, developing the future of the team, as well as taking care of the team at the moment.
Looking forward to being back in Cardiff and back at the Cardiff City Stadium.
Yeah, for sure. It's I've looked at some of the weather around Europe. I know it's going to be cold here tomorrow, but I did see Germany training with a pitch that was completely covered with snow. So I know there are colder areas at the moment, but to be honest, it doesn't really bother us in any sense. This team are really excited to play in Cardiff tomorrow night. We're really excited then to look forward to going to Swansea on Tuesday. The special bit about playing at Cardiff is the fans and what it means to me, what it means to the players. So to get back to Cardiff and really produce a performance for the fans is a big focus for us.
You're all about performances and building and looking to qualify for a major tournament, as it should be. Is tomorrow one of the exceptions where maybe you take a result without the performance?
Yeah, we've started to talk about that. We've started to talk about how much performance means to us, but then also what does it look like when you don't perform and you win. So in terms of the process, and it's an ideal game for us tomorrow, because when we qualify for the Euros, we'll go through stages where one-off games will matter. So it's almost a little bit of a run of, okay, this Nations League has had so many different experiences. This one tomorrow is, okay, we're in a situation where we perform and win, or we don't perform and win, and we give ourselves a good chance of going into the last game of the Nations League to stay in it. So I'm excited for it. I've been excited for every one of these games, as you know, and for me with Iceland, the performance in September was one of the best performances since I've been here. People will talk about the last Denmark game, but for me, what we did, we didn't get the win, is what we're not happy about. But like you said, we are finding ways now and finding things about ourselves consistently against, and we're talking about the best teams in Europe. So every time we talk, and we've talked since the beginning of the Nations League, we're talking about playing against the best teams. It's not the same as playing against France in a one-off and then playing, like I said, respectively, Kazakhstan in the second game. We're doing this back-to-back, and it's been a great Nations League for us in terms of what we focus on for next year in the Euros.
So obviously it's going to be an interesting game for you as a coach, because it's not a game where it's just any win will do. Obviously you want to score twice, which presents, I guess, its own challenge as a coach.
Yeah, it does, but we will focus on winning. If we win by 1 goal, then we know what we've got to do in the second game. So yeah, the 2 goals would mean that we'd go through on head-to-head. But for me, it's about the win. It's about the 1 goal, the 2 goals, whatever that is. So we can link that in with the performance around that winning and performance, because that's the stage we're at now. I just said there, in terms of the playoff next year potentially, or one-off games that we might need to win next year, it's a great rehearsal for us against a top team in Europe.
One final one for me. Tomorrow night, it's going to be, I think, 1 or 2 degrees. It's going to feel like -2. Is this finally the game where we're going to see Gemma Grainger wearing socks? Because I'm frankly worried for your feet tomorrow.
Listen, Gemma Grainger always wears socks. They're just in line with fashion. If I wore ankle socks, it wouldn't look good. But for me, honestly, I don't feel as soon as the game starts, everyone talks to me about how cold I look. I might look cold, but the adrenaline is so high, and honestly, I don't feel it. So please don't worry about my ankles. I will be wearing socks.
Thank you very much, Gemma.
Thank you,
Shauna?
Hi, Gemma.
Hi, Shauna.
I've asked Enquires and Sophie similar questions in terms of, it's been a really tough period, but it will, without a doubt, make you better in the long run. Have you noticed a shift in terms of the mentality of this squad that makes you believe that they can get the job done tomorrow night?
Yeah, the short answer to that is yes. It's been a great tough, in terms of the results, has that been hard for us? Yes, it has. But in terms of what we take from the results and the games, it's been perfect. It's been an enjoyment. So the disappointment, but the enjoyment in seeing the team grow. Some of the conversations we're having in team meetings are conversations that these players have never had before. We're playing against top teams. We have players in our team who are used to this level, and we have players who are learning what this level looks like. So the individual conversations I'm having with players, they're conversations they've not had in their careers. They're noticing what it looks like to play against a Germany and a Denmark and an Iceland back-to-back, and what it takes. In terms of the performance, I just spoke about what it looks like to perform and win, what it looks like to not perform but actually win. So it's very new to us as a team in terms of this level consistently, but it's something that is so exciting. One of the things that we did last night in terms of the mindset and mentality, we were fortunate enough to spend some time with Chris Coleman. And we spoke to Chris around some of the work that he did with the men's team, because that journey is so similar to us. We are 2 years into a journey, and Chris had a similar journey with our men's team. So the mindset and mentality for us has been a real focus. We've been talking to people in and around our team who can help us in terms of moving us further towards that on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. So it's been a real focus for us, and it's something that I know the girls are really excited about.
What was it like having Chris around? What did he say to the players?
Yeah, it was great. It was for him to speak to the girls. He talked about the journey that he had with the team when he was with the team. It's interesting. He talked around when the team suffered and what that allowed them to do in terms of the together stronger. The real togetherness of a team and what it takes. He talked about criticism and the criticism that team had. And in terms of, it's a natural part of when a team is successful. For me, criticism is great because it shows that you're moving in a direction where people are noticing you as a team. So he talked about that as part of the journey. And it's it was a pleasure to speak to him, for me as a coach to do that, and for him to speak to the players.
Finally, I asked Sophie, but she hadn't done it. You're Spotify Wrapped. I don't know if you've got a top artist from this year.
Oh no, I don't know if that's come through. I feel pressure. I'm so out of touch with the outside world when I'm here. I'm so out of touch. Can I come back to you on that?
Yes, you can. Diolch, Emma.
Diolch.
Oh, back by Monday.
Yeah.
Any more questions?
Just on Esther Morgan, what kind of injury did she suffer and what's the severity of it?
Yeah, so we're still finding that out at the moment. So it's an ankle injury, and we're just looking at what that looks like now in terms of getting her a scan and looking at what that severity is. So we're not 100% sure yet, but we hope to find out very soon.
You talk about scoring goals. You've got a lot of forwards who are in really good form at the moment. Does that give you a good selection headache heading into tomorrow?
Yeah, it does. What's really nice about the team, I said about the depth, we've got goal scorers, we've got players who are playing well, which is a great start for us. And I think that when we talk about starters and finishers, we have players who can start games and score goals, and then we look to the bench and we have players who can finish and score goals. So it's a good selection headache for me. I want to welcome these selection headaches because it hasn't always been the case here, but it definitely is now.
I know you say scoring one's okay, but if you score two, that'll obviously keep you in League A, barring miraculous results elsewhere. In terms of sort of being clinical, so you haven't scored two this campaign so far. Is that easy to train to have that clinical edge, or does it come down to the individual in the moment?
Yeah, it's a bit of both. What I am really pleased about, if you look at the quality of the goals we've scored against Denmark, Germany and Denmark, they're top goals. They are goals that any team would look at. It's not a coincidence that we are scoring goals against top teams. We are working hard at elements to it, and it ultimately comes down to decision making, but it comes down to teaching principles, and we are working really hard within our team principles and helping individuals to then execute, in those moments. Particularly in the Iceland game, we had a lot of chances. We had a lot of high quality chances, and it is about, like you said, the individual moments and giving confidence in those moments to be able to produce moments for players to step up and score. I think that it's new for this team to score to score goals against, like I said, Germany and Denmark, because they haven't played consistently against top teams. So when I look at the goals we're scoring, like I said, they are top goals that any team would look at and talk about. So we're creating habits, and we want to continue with that.
One final one for me. Iceland are going to be without Svein here. Does that make your life a lot easier not having a player of her calibre to worry about?
Yeah, it's we know about it ahead of the game this time, which was different to September. In September she was named in the squad, and we found out very close to kick-off because she didn't. Obviously, she was on the bench, and we prepared for her to play. She's a great player. She's a top player. They have a lot of great players. Obviously, if she's out of the squad, it does make them weaker because she's a top player, but it doesn't change too much. We played in September. I expect the team from September to be pretty similar to the team that they put out tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, with Chris, it was a 20-minute Zoom call, just bring a bit of context about that.
When was that?